I lost her, it's like my world fell. It's like everything just went paragasha. I didn't even know what to say. I didn't know what to do. But I realized what would my mom have me do in this moment? She would keep on saying, Jeff, be jachir, be courageous, be brave. Why are you afraid? Why is your heart like losing hope? We are the Healing Podcast. Make sure to like, to share, to subscribe, tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend that we are back. Hey everyone, welcome back to Wellness by JF Pod. And I know that it's been months, and it looked like I fell off the face of the earth. I didn't. So much was going on, and I just could not find it within me to sit in front of the camera and do something for the podcast. And so after many, many months and many, many days and many, many weeks of talking and re-talking and people talking and God talking, I decided to come back. So today I'm just gonna explain very briefly why I was not away. Why I was away. Forgive me. And say that I'm back. So, as many of you might know, that I lost my mom in October 2023, and it was an unexpected death. Forgive me if I get emotional. And yeah, it hit me hard. Just before I lost her, I had done an episode with Dr. Caesar, which I think is a great episode actually. But in the process of promoting and putting out that episode is when we got the news, and life literally just stopped for me. So we went through the burial and everything, and partly that's why I've been missing in action. Other than that, of course, I took a trip somewhere, and I decided to come to visit family and just relax a bit. And I carried my equipment with me, not all, but I carried some of my equipment with me. And the hope was that, yes, I'd be able to, to put something out and keep on going. But needless to say, I was not able to. So that leads me to some of the lessons that I've learned through this grieving period that I feel I would want to share with you guys. So yeah, that leads me to share some lessons that I've learned through this grieving period that I want to share with you guys. The first thing is that while grieving, or when you lose a loved one, it comes as a shock to you. And I know that in your head or in the past, you think that you know what you should do. You think that you know what you should say. You've seen other people go through it. You've been there for other people going through it. And in a way you feel like, it's easy, I got this. But nothing prepares you for that shocker. Everything comes to a standstill. The person is no longer there. No matter what you do, no matter how much you pray, no matter how much you believe God, whatever, that person is not there. And that in itself is a big, big shock. So yes, I went through that shock period. And I remember like one of the first people to go and actually verify that indeed mom has passed on was my brother-in-law. And, you know, I literally asked him, like, is it true? Is it true, like, mom is not there? And he said, yes. And I said, could you send me a picture? I could not believe it. And thank God in his wisdom, he said, no, Judy, I'm not going to send you a picture. When you can, you come home. It is true, mom is not there. So I think that was me just being so shocked and being like freezing, like life literally just stood in that moment. And it's funny, I'm getting the same emotions that I got when I got that news. And that leads me to the second lesson that I learned. Could I please get tissue? So the second lesson, excuse me, I could get teary here and there. Second lesson that I learned was no matter how much time passes, it never gets easier. You've lost a loved one, you've lost a mother, a husband, a child, you know, whoever it could be. And time can pass. 1 year can pass, 2 years can pass, 30 years can pass. It doesn't get easier. When you think about them, when you speak about them, the feelings are just as raw as they were in that moment. And so the most you can do for yourself is to give yourself grace. Just give yourself grace as you go through that. And, you know, like for me, I stayed with my mom for so many years. I don't want to mention my years because I'm almost 16, you know. But, you know, I stayed with her for all that time. And the thought that she's not there, not calling and saying, you know, I'm coming to visit you, that thought in itself is very foreign to me. And so, yes, I struggle with those thoughts. The third lesson that I learned is that grieving is not a linear process. It might look like it is a linear process, especially when you're from the outside looking in, but the grief and the sadness and the sorrow, you might feel that you've like mastered it, you've gotten over it. You guys have done the burial, you did it well, you honored your loved one the way she would have wanted. In my case, my mother had shared with me some of the things she wanted, and we ensured that we did all of that. And you feel, yeah, I've honored her in the best way that I could, and I'm good, you know. And remember, when you've lost your loved one, life still goes on. It's not like life stops. If you're a mother, you still have to take care of your kids. If you're a wife, you still have to be a wife to your husband. If you're a corporate body, you're working, your business, everything. So you try to move on. You try to go on with life. Then you realize that, sometimes you could just be like me. I was literally prepared because we're going out for a brunch with my family. And I thought, why not let me do a short video about why I've been away from YouTube. And I was thinking I'm good until I sat here to speak about some lessons that I've learned. So it's not a linear process. It will not always be a straight line. You will not, from when you lose your loved one, you will not be like, I've made progress up here and I cannot go back here. Grieving is more like that, right? There's ups and downs, and sometimes there's good ups where things are happening, your normal life is going on, and sometimes like really, really low moments. And in this, I learned that when you're in your low moments, allow yourself to sit in your feelings, allow yourself to feel it. I mean, this is your loved one. You know, you can't just throw them away. Allow yourself to feel it. What works for me is I pray. Whenever I think of my mother, I pray. I remember very recently I was going through a lot of stress, and I just prayed. I said, Mama, I don't know what they allow you to do up there in heaven, but if they allow you to pray, Mama, pray for me. and you rest in peace, and, you enjoy being the gold mansion, do all of that, whatever they allow you, please do it. So I get comfort whenever I pray and whenever I allow myself, as opposed to whenever I allow myself to feel the feelings as opposed to pushing them away, right? Okay, lesson number 4 that I learned, and this is a big, 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 big lesson that I learned, is the gift of presence. So you hear that a friend, a neighbor, a workmate has lost a loved one, and you guys are not close or whatever. Don't just keep quiet. I remember each and every person who reached out to me, what they said, how that made me feel. And I'm in particular going to mention 2 cases that really touched my heart. So we got the news that we lost mom in the night, early morning. And my friend, who at the time lived in a different town in Kisumu, was in my house by 11 a.m. I let her know at 6:30. She was in my house by 11 a.m. And she stayed with me for 3 days. I cannot tell you how much those 3 days meant to me. I cannot even begin to tell you. And she came, during the time when I was losing mom. I didn't have a house help. I was just managing. And so, of course, on that day, everything just collapsed. I wasn't able to, to do the usual. Our church, okay, I'll mention 3. So let me start with my friend first. So my friend was there by 11 a.m. Immediately just got in, went straight to the kitchen to clean up, to probably make chai. She just took over. Let me just put it like that. And I kept on receiving guests during the 3 days. And this girl was there for me like you cannot believe. She didn't say much. But you could tell that she cared. And that really meant a lot. Secondly, my church also was very, very helpful. They understood the gift of presence. So we let the church know at about 6:30 a.m. And by 7:30 a.m., that was the first group of people that we hosted. Strangers who became friends by virtue of the church that we go to. Throughout the morning period, even up until after, they were there. And so I'd like to big up my church, ROG, at Parklands, right opposite K1. Thank you so much for the love that you guys shared. You really, really touched my heart, and you made the journey bearable. My pastor even forfeited a big plan that he had to be there for the burial. That meant a lot. I'll try and get some pics and put them here. The friend that was there for me, I think she'll be okay with me mentioning her name. Her name is Belinda Bells. Bells was amazing. Thank you so much, Bells, for being there. And not to say that other friends were not there. I'm just saying that this particular one, I felt it. I have very, very many people that I can big up. And lastly, the third example about the gift of presence that stood out for me was a lady who at the time was a churchmate. I didn't know her. She didn't know me as far as I'm concerned. But when she heard the news, she came to my house, first with her husband and 2 more times without her husband. Sometimes not even to do much, but there's a day she literally came, dropped off something and went. She dropped off supplies. There's a day she just texted me and asked, I noticed that you do not have a help. Would you mind if I could come into your house and, do dishes for you? And that really touched my heart. I needed it. I did not even have the strength to do the normal things that you do. My children are going through their exams. I did not have the strength to even take care of my children and all that. So I've learned through this grieving process that presence, you stopping whatever you're doing and being there for your friend, for your sister, for your spouse, for whoever it is, when they lose a person, a loved one, that presence is more valuable than $1 million in that moment. And I have so many other people who were there for me. Of course, I cannot mention all of you, but allow me to say a big thank you. Allow me to say a big thank you for just stopping what you're doing. And in that moment, thinking about me, praying for me, sending me your messages, calling me. Thank you so much. That really meant a lot. And many times it took me through that difficult period. So the gift of presence is something that I learned myself also. It's a lesson that I learned. I try to always be there, but experiencing it, I now know what it means. Okay. Another thing that I learned is losing a person is hard. Let no one lie to you. It's hard, but life must continue and you must not allow yourself to get lost with the person that you lost. One thing that my mother used to say so much and that has become so real to me is, I'm going to say it how she used to say it. She used to say, Bejachir. If you speak French, you know what Bejachir means, but I'll translate it for you non-French speakers. It means be courageous. My mother said that to me over and over and over and over again. So all you people who like saying, hey, Jeff, you're strong, you're this, you're that, you know where that comes from. So when I lost her, it's like my world fell. It's like everything just went paragasha. I didn't even know what to say. I didn't know what to do. But I realized what would my mom have me do in this moment? She would keep on saying, Jeff, be jachir, be courageous, be brave. Why are you afraid? Why is your heart like losing hope? And so that is something that I learned. And I said, in as much as I've lost mom, I'm not going to lose myself. I am not going to build an altar of pain in my life because I've lost my mom. My mother was an amazing woman. I cannot begin to tell you the testaments and the people that came out to speak about what she had done and what she had planted in their lives were numerous. We could not even accommodate everybody on the day of her burial. And seeing that she used to love smiling, by the way. If she wakes up in the morning, the first thing she does is smile. So seeing that with her loss, it now wanted to almost appear as if pain was the only thing I could relate with. I realized that no, I am not going to build an altar of pain from the death of my mother. I have lost my mother. She's not coming back. She's never coming back. Like she's gone. But I will move on forward with my life. And the best I can do in this moment is to take all the lessons that she taught me, to take all her words of wisdom, all her words of love, encouragement, are just pushing me forward. That is what I can take with me in my journey of life. And so when you lose your loved one, don't build an altar of pain where you go every morning to service the altar with pain. You go every morning to put sorrow. You go every morning to put sadness. Life still continues. You still have life. You still have your family, your other family that needs you, your friends, your businesses, your work, name it, you still have that. So in that moment, try to come out of the pain. It is not an easy process. It's something that you work on day by day, but by God's grace, you'll be able to come out of it. I lost count, but another lesson that I learned, I remember when I went now finally I got to travel about a few days after I lost mom, and I got to travel, and we went to the morgue, and they ask you guys to wait out there, and then they'll pull your person out and bring her there. So when they brought her there, and when I just saw her lying there, I remember just realizing that if there was a way that I could keep her body, if there was a way that I could keep her body with me for the rest of my life, I would not have my mother. The thing that I loved about my mother was her spirit, not her body. Her body was how her body housed her spirit. And so her spirit has left. And so I remained with her body, and her body is useless to me. Her spirit was what I loved. Seeing my mother lying there, quiet, the way she did her mouth, as who know, we know what that means. Just passing that message quietly, silently, and her not responding when we call mama, mama. I realize it's a spirit. It's a spirit that I love. That led me to ask myself many, many questions, including, what is the spirit that lies within you? Because that spirit, irrespective of how beautiful this body looks, if that spirit within you is not of God, is not governed by the Holy Spirit, then it is all in vain. The loss of my mother made me realize that life indeed is spiritual, and you must abide by God's words, by God's law, such that when death comes, because death will come for all of us who are alive here. When death comes, death will have no sting. Death will do its part and go, but your spirit will be received in the bosom of our Father. The death of my mom, contrary to how many people perceive death, was very peaceful. Mama died peacefully. We buried Mama peacefully. Until now, we're experiencing peace from burying my mom. That can only be because she had a relationship with God, because she knew God, and so death did not come as a shocker to her. That led me to say that, in fact, myself, I have to finish well. I have to, hold on, I can't see. Okay. I have to finish well. I have to develop a relationship with Christ, because at that moment, being so lost, receiving the news, my friend was there. And this is another lesson, by the way. My friend was there. My husband was there. They're trying to console me. Nothing could console me. It's those moments in prayer, those moments reading the Bible that consoled me. It's the Spirit of God who gave me comfort. Truly, truly, truly. The Bible is not just a bunch of words. Those words are alive. The Word of God is alive. When I tell you I got peace that surpasses all human understanding, you might not believe, but I did. And so I'm going to end this episode, that is not such a long episode, by sharing a verse that was very real and very comforting to me during that time. And I'll just read it. Okay, so as I was saying, there's one verse that became real for me during that time, and it's a verse that I've learned and I've loved it during this time. So I'll share this verse with you as I come to the end of this episode. And that verse is 1 Thessalonians 4:13, and it says, "Now also we would not have you ignorant, brethren, about those who fall asleep in death, that you may not grieve as the rest do, who have no hope beyond the grave. For since we believe that Jesus died and rose again, even so God will also bring with him through Jesus those who have fallen asleep in death. For this we declare to you by the Lord's word, that we who are alive and remain until the coming of the Lord shall in no way proceed into his presence or have any advantage at all over those who have previously fallen asleep in him in death. For the Lord himself will descend from heaven with a loud cry of summons, with a shout of an archangel, and with a blast of the trumpet of God, and those who have departed this life in Christ will rise fast. Then we, the living ones who remain on earth, shall simultaneously be caught up along with the resurrected dead in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so always, through the eternity of the eternities, we shall be with the Lord. Therefore, comfort and encourage one another with these words. This is 1 Thessalonians 4:13-18. I'll have it up on the screen. These words were so encouraging. It encourages us who know God not to grieve the way the world grieves. Because if you're in the world, once somebody dies, there's no hope beyond the grave. Or for us who know God, for us who love God, there is hope beyond the grave. And because we believe that Jesus died and he rose again, and so likewise, our loved ones will rise again. We'll see them in that morning. We're going to see them. We're going to reunite with them again. And so it ends, this chapter ends by saying, comfort and encourage one another with these words. These words were a source of comfort and encouragement for me. I'm going to end this episode right here. Hope to see you in the next one. Now you know why I've been away. I'm going to share in the next episode about the trip that I took and some of the lessons I've learned in that trip. I've been your host, JF. This has been Wellness by JF podcast. We are the healing podcast. Make sure to like, to share, to subscribe. Tell a friend, to tell a friend, to tell a friend that we are back. See you on the next one.